I'll be heading to Little Jamaica now. Little Jamaica is in Toronto. It was designated heritage site in, I think, 2021. So I'll be hanging out in Little Jamaica today. Gonna get some breakfast, lunch, and some dinner. And we'll talk about the history of Toronto and the history of Little Jamaica and the impact that the Caribbean community over the years has had on Toronto being such a multicultural city. Toronto is known as the most multicultural city in the entire world. And Caribbean culture has helped a lot in shaping the multiculturalism aspect of Toronto. And I'm just going to give you a bit of a history of the Caribbean contribution to the city of Toronto and to Canada in general, and in how Canada, or in particular Toronto, is now known as the most multicultural city in the world. Okay guys, so this is the famous Jerk Box Jamaican restaurant. Okay, so today I'll be having the ackee and saltfish with fried dumpling, and this breakfast comes also with a porridge, a small porridge, and every day they have a different flavor porridge, but today I'll be having blended oat porridge. Yes, I'm about to have my Jamaican breakfast. This is my blended oat porridge. Yeah, it's done different from the way Americans, do their stuff. This is blended in a blender, then put in the pot to cook down with some, cinnamon and nutmeg and all the good stuff, condensed milk. Very good. One thing I must say, like Jerk Box, they do some of the best Jamaican breakfast. I think the best Jamaican breakfast that I've had in Canada. So it's never, you don't have to worry when you go there if it's going to be good. Like 90% of the time, breakfast is good. And the breakfast comes with, it's like a combo, comes with anything you choose, whether ground provision, fried dumpling, comes with porridge. And they have different porridge for different days. Like I know on Friday they have like hominy corn porridge. I think on Thursday they have banana porridge. So 6 days a week, 6 different type of porridge. So that's a good thing too. Like hominy corn is one of my favorites. So I know that whenever I need it, Friday, I'm going to go on Fridays to get it. Yeah, very good. Up next, I'm going to have my ackee and saltfish with fried dumpling. So this is it. What I like that they do, they put the dumpling separate so it doesn't like get soggy with the ackee. There it is. Ackee and saltfish and fried dumpling. And even though in Canada, in America, for the most part, you're not going to get fresh ackee. It's going to come from a can. But still, it's still very delicious. You won't get it as fresh, like in Jamaica, you go to the market and you buy the ackee. Here, you get the Grace ackee or some other type of ackee from the can. And it's very expensive. That's why breakfast, for the most part, in Canada and in the US is more expensive than lunch a lot of times. And as I said, like Jerk Box, they're very good. So most time you come, you know that you're gonna get, a good deal. So ackee and saltfish, very delicious. Well seasoned. Fried dumpling, deep fried, not oily. Yeah, you get the real deal. Yeah, I think one thing that people say a lot too you know, you hear it a lot. You know, comedians make joke about it. When you go to the Jamaican restaurant and the bad service that you get, you know, it's somewhat true. But the reality is that most fast food restaurants like McDonald's, Burger King, a lot of those places, you don't really get service, because a lot of those places, workers are making like minimum wage. And just imagine, you know, going to work every day and can't even afford to pay rent. Like, even in Toronto now, like if you work at one of these fast food restaurants, you can't even rent a basement apartment by yourself. You'd have to have someone to share it with. That's how bad it is. So, you know, I get it. You know, people complain about service, but sometimes you have to understand that, you know, people have a life, and sometimes, you know, coming to work every day and feel like you're not accomplishing anything can be very taxing on the mind. So, you know, I get it. And one thing I've realized though, which is kind of funny, like a lot of the upscale Jamaican restaurants that's here in Toronto, like the fine dining per se, you'll go and you'll get good service, but the food is not as good as the mom and pop, you know, Jamaican restaurant. So that is something to consider. But for the most part, you know, like I think a lot of Jamaicans understand more. So sometimes, you know, you go into, like I've been into Jerkbox a lot of time where like I see like the customer is like cursing out the person that's serving the food, and then they're still coming back every day, and they just have an understanding that this is how we are as Jamaicans, like, you know, what you want, or, you know, stuff like that. So it's kind of funny, but, you know, I've seen it over and over again where people just love the food and the service is almost like secondary to them, which, you know, it's unfortunate. In a perfect world, like, you know, people that's working at those restaurants would be like properly compensated, and, you know, you could get like really good customer service and really good food. But it is what it is. But food is amazing. So a lot of people are knowledgeable about the Windrush movement back in the 1950s, when people from the Caribbean, in particular Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, went to England to pretty much help to build the British economy. It is well documented, but what's not documented is that at that time, Canada was going through the same process. So in 1955, Canada had a program called the Domestic Scheme, the West Indies Domestic Scheme, that saw over 3,000 women from, in particular, Jamaica and Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, coming to Canada to be like domestic helpers and to do odd jobs like that. So that was one of the first wave, if you want to call it that, of the Canadian immigration opening up to the Caribbean. And that was between 1955 to 1967. The problem with that is that first wave pretty much destroyed a lot of Caribbean homes, because at that time they were only accepting women from the Caribbean to come and to do domestic jobs. So that left a lot of homes in the Caribbean with only the husbands. And I know, you know, that led to a thing in Jamaica, we used to call it barrel baby. So that's where like mothers and sometimes fathers would be in the UK, in Canada, in America, and their kids are left back home with the grandparents, and they would just send barrels and stuff like that, you know, for the kids to feel happy and stuff like that. You know, that I would say was the beginning of the breaking down of the family structure in the Caribbean. In 1967 going up now, there was a second wave of immigration policy that was directed towards the Caribbean, and I'm going to talk about that. Jamaica. Little Jamaica, this is where like many Jamaicans settled back in the late 50s, early 60s. And this is where it all started, you know, the Jamaican community coming together. You know, jerk chicken, beef patty, all the Jamaican delicacy you could get here from back in the 60s. So I'm just gonna take you around and give you a little tour of Little Jamaica. Yes guys, so as I said, we are in Little Jamaica in Reggae Lane, and Little Jamaica in 2021 was designated by the government of Toronto as an heritage site. So what that means is that the government is planning to protect this area to preserve the Jamaican culture and to somewhat prevent it from being gentrified, so that a lot of Jamaican business can remain in this area. And the murals, like the graffiti that you see, tells the story of just music, culture, and everything in this area. So we are on Reggae Lane in Little Jamaica. This community have been undergoing renovations, major construction for the past 12, 13 years. Roughly $12 billion in construction so far, with a new subway system and a lot of high-rise buildings going up. So Jamaicans are trying to keep their business from being gentrified. So yes, this is Little Jamaica. As you can see, like that is the scatter lights. You know, that's a group that was, you know, very famous back in the day for ska. There's a lot of local Torontonian celebrities on the wall. I think that is, who is that? I don't know. I don't even know who that is. But there is like Haile Selassie. There's Bob. You can't have a mural without Bob, right? Yeah, so this is what Little Jamaica looks like. And this is like, you know, a tourist type of site. Like people come from all over the world. You know, when we have Caravana in Toronto, there are people from England, people from the, Germany, from the US, from all over the world that, you know, just come to check this great place out and, you know, to get some of the best jerk chicken in Little Jamaica. You know, we have this jerk chicken spot that's been there for about 40 years. They're like a 24-hour, you know, jerk chicken. So, yep, this is it. This is where it all started. Little Jamaica. Is Randy's. They closed recently. Randy's was one of the, you know, Canada's most iconic Jamaican beef patty spots from the 70s. And when you come to Carabana, this is the place that you had to visit, you know, Randy's. But now they're closed. Okay, so my next stop is going to be Dimes Jamaican restaurant. In Little Jamaica, you'll find, I think, the cheapest Jamaican lunch specials that you can find in the entire country. Back in the days, they had like a toonie special and stuff like that. $2 for like rice and peas and chicken and a drink. But you know, because of the pandemic and because of all the inflation and prices just skyrocketing, I think the cheapest you can get now is $5, which is still amazing, because $5 can't get you anything in Canada. So yeah, so Dimes, get some lunch, either some jerk chicken or some fried chicken with rice and peas and coleslaw, you know, the average Jamaican lunch. So let's do this. Okay, so this is Dimes Jamaican restaurant, and as I said, this is where you'll get the cheapest Jamaican food, I think, in Canada for only $5. Okay, so this is the small fried chicken from Dimes. You know, Dimes Jamaican restaurant. They're in Little Jamaica. This is the small fried chicken with rice and peas and coleslaw. And this here is actually $5. So one of the thing about the Jamaican restaurants, especially in Little Jamaica, they are way cheaper even than a McDonald's or a Burger King, you're going there and you're getting like real food for like almost half the price that you'd go to like a McDonald's and get one of those burgers that is like a lot of times like seem like they're not even real meat. So yeah, this is it, fried chicken from Dimes. Okay, so my fried chicken from Dimes Jamaican restaurant, $5. Wow, can you imagine that? A full meal for only $5 when like to go and get like a meal from McDonald's, it's like $12 for one of those small burgers with those fries and a drink. $12, plus tax. Yeah. I'm good. Jamaican food, coleslaw, chicken, fried chicken, rice and peas. And I must say the service was good. The lady there was very pleasant. So, it's not all Jamaican restaurants you get bad service, and it's not all the time. Sometimes people just have a bad day. So, fried chicken, bon appetit. Okay, now, so let's talk about the second wave of immigration for the Caribbean community in Canada, and that took place in the mid to late 1960s to around 1975, where there was like a massive immigration process geared towards the Caribbean that in a 10-year period saw over 65,000 people from the Caribbean coming to Canada, in particular Ontario. And that is where Little Jamaica started to take shape. And it's important to note too that the Little Jamaica community, as we know it now, is not just Jamaicans. Like, it was built by, as I said, there are people from Barbados, there are people from Trinidad, from different Caribbean islands that that came up during that time. But Jamaica was, newly independent. Jamaica economy after independence took like a massive hit. So a lot of people were trying to get out of Jamaica at the time. So hence there's a lot more Jamaicans in Canada, coming to Canada, than people from, say, Barbados or Trinidad and Tobago. There are a lot more Jamaicans that just wanted to get out to find a way to feed their families. So because of that reason, Jamaicans were always the majority. And so it started taking shape. A lot of Jamaican restaurants, a lot of barbershops, jewelry stores, like you name it, Jamaican business in that area. And that's how the Little Jamaica community started to form back between 1967 and 1975. You saw like churches going up in the area. Church. So yeah, so that's just a bit of the history of Little Jamaica. Like, I'll be going around showing you some of the infrastructure, so some more of the infrastructure, like their churches. Unfortunately, there are a lot of businesses that closed down. Up to 50% of the businesses in Little Jamaica closed down during the pandemic and during the construction that was taking place for like pretty much 13 years. I operated a restaurant there, and I unfortunately had to close my doors last year. So yeah, so I'll just take you around. We'll go around and I'll just show the structure, what Little Jamaica is like. And as I said, the hope is that this community would be able to withstand gentrification, and that with all the recent developments that's going on in this community now, that Jamaican businesses that's been there from the 1960s, 1970s can withstand the gentrification. So I'll take you around and show you some more of these properties. and businesses. So this is one of two Jamaica National Bank in Little Jamaica. It not only serves Jamaica but the Caribbean. We also have a few wholesales, Caribbean wholesales in the area, and it would not be completed without a studio. There are quite a few studios in the Little Jamaica area also. So yes, Little Jamaica. So now it's later in the evening, and as I said, I'm spending the entire day in Little Jamaica, so I'm heading back to Little Jamaica now, to that Toronto's #1 jerk spot in Little Jamaica, which is called Raps. Raps is a spot where most Torontonians would go, like in Little Jamaica at night time, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, to get some jerk chicken. And in the summer, like it's like crazy. Anytime, as I said, like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, you go out there, people are just out there having jerk chicken, coming back from the clubs and stuff like that. So I'm heading out there now to get myself some jerk chicken and wrap up the tour of Little Jamaica. So see you in a few. I just pull up in the area, so I'm gonna walk now and get myself some jerk chicken. Yeah, so Little Jamaica, this is it in the night time. So yep, gonna get myself some jerk chicken. Yep, so that's it. Jerk chicken on the drum. So this is actually like I'm at Spencer's. So there's Spencer's and there's Wraps. So right now I'm at Spencer's and this is it, jerk chicken. Okay, so I got my jerk chicken back in the car. This is what it looks like. Yeah. Unfortunately, they didn't have any hard-dough bread, so I didn't want to have the jerk chicken with rice and peas, so I'm just having the chicken by itself without the hard-dough bread, which is a bummer, because it's like jerk chicken without bread is like not really jerk chicken. So yeah, this is what it looks like. Smell good, nice and hot. Not too spicy. Like, it almost tastes like grilled chicken, not jerk chicken. The flavors are good, but it's not. I expected more spice. But I think what happened, a lot of people who buy jerk chicken in Toronto are not necessarily Jamaicans or Caribbean, and I find that like Black Canadians or Americans don't do well with the heat as much as us folks in the Caribbean. So that's the only thing. It's not too spicy. Like it should be. I should be tearing up now just eating this, but the flavor is good. So yeah. I think that's it for my day. Like a full day in Little Jamaica, showcasing Little Jamaica, and there's a lot more that I could have shown. I probably will do in upcoming videos. But tell me in the comment section, like, if are you surprised of Little Jamaica and the impact that the Jamaican community has had, like pretty much worldwide? Because sometimes, like, being in Jamaica and not being able to venture outside of Jamaica, you don't know the impact that a small tiny island like Jamaica is having on the world in general. So it's so fascinating to be in like a city like Toronto, which is the most multicultural city in the world, and just to look and see that there's a section carved out in a city like this called Little Jamaica. There's not much more. There's Chinatown, there's Little Italy, but not many countries like have a section, have such an impact on culture in different countries across the world that you can have something like this. So let me know, like, is it the first time you're hearing about Little Jamaica? And just leave it in the comment section, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and continue to follow us for amazing content. And remember, peace. I'm out.